Hi everyone. So thanks so much for joining us today. So I'm Annika. I'll be hosting the webinar, but really this is all going to be Will's talk. So you can see him here on the screen with us. So Will has really been like a partner with Taplio, and we've been working on a couple of different things over the past few months. And actually, yeah, Will is the founder of Catalyst, which is really an agency responsible for helping businesses and founders think up of engines that actually translate into clients on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So he's going to talk a bit about how he's done that. And on your side of things, hope that this talk is very informative and you can just drop all of your questions in the chat. Someone from our marketing team will get to you on those questions or will answer them live towards the end of the session. So with that, Will, I guess now I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's really a pleasure to be able to join this session and teach you guys a little bit about really how to use LinkedIn as a effective lead gen platform. And I think founder-led content has become, or executive content has become such a narrative over the last couple years. Where there's a lot of misconceptions. I think a lot of people understand now that you should be posting. It can help, promote your business. It can help, kind of keep you top of mind and show that you have thought leadership in your industry for a hiring perspective. And while we orient our kind of positioning and our narrative around founders and operators building a business, there are really so many benefits of putting yourself out there professionally, talking about, the things that are important to you, having an opinion. And so really want to walk through today how we can best leverage LinkedIn and Taplio to be able to produce a system that works for you to make content, put your thoughts out there. If you're a business owner, converting those into pipeline. And so, as the headline says, your first LinkedIn client in 30 days, because it really does work that fast. A little bit about me. So I run an agency called Catalyst. We are a go-to-market agency that focuses on content. Myself, I've grown the entire business bootstrapped. We actually just crossed 17,000 followers on LinkedIn this week, but we've got to work with 150 plus founders across mostly SaaS businesses. And our agency itself has generated over 2 million in revenue with our only channel being LinkedIn. And so it's really an effective channel, and you definitely can grow a viable business from it. And we've had a chance to work with some of the really great, smart, intelligent teams with some of the fastest growing tech companies in the world. So today we're going to go through 6 different components. And this is kind of the agenda. So we'll go through the problem, talking about, where things are and what the reality is. Talk about how to differentiate and find your voice on LinkedIn so you don't sound like AI slop with core beliefs. Never run out of content ideas with Content Matrix. Then how we actually convert those followers and that engagement into pipeline. We'll also talk about intent signals, which is super important, especially when you're using LinkedIn for, as signals for outbound. And then we'll go into the Taplio platform, and I'll show how I actually use the platform to research some new ideas, get inspiration, and more importantly, I'm a very data-driven individual, how I use those analytics to actually help me inform better content and get more leads. So most founders post. And as I was rereading this right before the call, I was like, actually, most founders don't even post. But if you've gotten in the habit or you understand the importance, maybe you have posted. But definitely no one's booking calls from it. So the core issue here is people try posting once or twice, don't see any results. Maybe they get some engagement, but it's like their high school friend or maybe a past colleague. You're definitely not reaching the right individual. And so you kind of give up. Or maybe you do it every once in a while and you never get the consistency to actually see the compounding effects of what happens when you post over time. And so you definitely aren't booking calls. It definitely leads to burnout. You definitely lose a whole lot of motivation through the process. And so most people just kind of stop there. And if we break down the key components or the core problems of why, how we get to this, the first one is no belief system. So posts will feel generic and have no underlying point of view if you don't know what you believe in. What is your positioning? Why do you have something unique to say that other people should care about? And it sounds like a daunting task to identify that, but we'll go through and show you how it's really easy to kind of figure out what your core beliefs are and be able to consistently produce content about that. The other thing is this is the main component to actually be able to combat AI slop. AI is fantastic. There are so many great ways. You can be using Claude Code and Claude Setups and Taplio to be able to use it to produce your content. But the core component of it is understanding kind of what your unique perspective is, what you bring to the table, and having that come through every piece of content that you write. Now, the second thing is the hook strategy. So we are still on a social platform, and so you have to cater to the platform a little bit. And the hook is 70% of the post. You can have a really great insight or a really great perspective on something, but if you don't have a good hook, you won't actually be able to even get someone's attention, stop their scroll to get them to view what your idea is or what your thought is. And so the hook is very important. And not hooks, all hooks are created equal. And so, being able to have an effective hook that captures someone's attention to even get them to read your post is so important. The third problem of this is having no conversion path. So maybe you figured out some beliefs or some things you like talking about. Maybe your hooks are good enough. But if you're just getting viewership, if you're just getting engagement from, again, your colleagues or industry peers or, high school roommate, then none of it really actually becomes that valuable as far as driving your business forward. And so we need to talk about setting up conversion paths, using lead magnets, getting a way to convert that viewership and that engagement into actually booking meetings and booking a call to sell someone on your product or service. The profile is also very important to set up, and so there are a few different ways that we can set this up properly. A lot of this can actually be done within the Taplio product as well. We'll go through how to use the viral posts, the engagement feeds, and the analytics to be able to go and convert some of this viewership into pipeline. Another core belief or something that's really important to understand when you're posting on LinkedIn is that 95% of your buyers aren't actually in a buying decision or a buying mindset when they find your post. So when your content gets ignored or it usually, it's not bad. It's really just because the buyer's not in the right mindset. The buyer isn't ready to buy from you yet. And so the main takeaway here is when you're producing content for LinkedIn, you just want to be top of mind and have educated them, have provided value to them over the last 6 to 18 months. So for when they are in that buying opportunity and that buying mode, you are the immediate, obvious choice for them to go with. And I say this because a lot of people will just post for a month, if not, a couple weeks, and say, I'm not getting any leads. I'm not getting direct new business from this. And so what needs to happen is the mindset needs to shift. It's a complete consistency game. It allows you to take a lot of pressure off of each individual post. And the goal of content is staying present in your buyer's mind and in their world long enough so when they change their mind, you are the first person they think of. And this is a really important reframe as you go into producing content. And if that sounds a little bit more overwhelming of like, oh my God, what am I going to post about for 6 to 18 months? That's what we'll exactly solve in this webinar today. I don't know, this keeps reloading. Anyway, I put together a resource for you guys. There's 20 plus skills that you can add to your LLM of choice. You can use them to feed into Taplio. So they're available here and should give you a good foundation of what is possible and help you produce more content at scale. All right. So if the output isn't post, what is it? The idea of content, back to what I was saying about the idea is it's a consistency game, is that our idea with content is to warm prospects so they already trust you. So each component of this system that we're building needs to feed the next piece. And so by the time a prospect reaches out, they've already decided to work with you. We know that buyers, especially in B2B, are doing so much more self-education than ever before. They're looking at the founder profiles, they're looking at employee profiles, they're going to your website, they're looking on YouTube, they're looking on Twitter, on LinkedIn. They are doing any type of education they can get their hands on to understand if your product or service is right for them before they book a call. And so this entire content engine focused on LinkedIn helps produce all of that content so that we can educate them. It might be even as simple as just going to the founder's feed and scrolling through the feed to see it past content. And if you're talking about case studies and client success and your process, all of that is answered on there. Then what's great is if you're doing outbound, if you have a sales team, if you're going to events, if you have referral partners, any type of additional outreach, if you're running ads, become infinitely more valuable. Your customer acquisition cost decreases, and you'll start seeing reply rates go from 1% to 2% to like 30 to 40%, just by having a pulse and having your opinions and talking about your product or service via content. And so again, the outcome, the objective of what we're building is to warm prospects so they already trust you. There are really 4 primary ways to tell someone about what you do. There's cold outreach, reaching out to strangers. There's producing content, which is, what we're talking about today. There's warm outreach, which is, reaching out to people who already know you. And then there's paid ads. Again, reaching either a warm or cold audience, but you're paying per click, and the attribution is a little bit more, more of a transaction. And so we're really talking about how we can use content to stay present in buyer feeds and build that trust over time. And then when you introduce these other markets or these other channels, you'll have an easier job, because when you do cold outreach, you're actually doing warm outreach. Warm outreach means you're talking to people who already are familiar with you and already trust you. And when you run paid ads, you can do retargeting to the people that already engaged with your content. So all of this builds this huge trust layer underneath every other type of sales and outreach process you do on top of it. Also, content can generate inbound leads and identify these signals for who's ready to buy. So let's talk about core beliefs, because we have to identify what we stand for, what it is that only I can say, and how I can build a personality and a perspective around my belief system. It is the only thing in content that can't be copied. Especially in the day and age with AI, you can write other people's posts and tactics. Competitors can steal your frameworks. But if you get down to the essence of it, no one can really see or take your perspective of how you see the world. Your view, your beliefs is an aggregation of all of your experiences in life. And I think this is where a lot of the founders that we work with get caught up in, is because It's our opinion. We don't know anything else. We only know our perspective in this world. And so it doesn't maybe feel that important. And I think there's a lot of kind of like identity crisis that happens in this process. But your view and the lens that you see the world in your industry is really important, especially if you're a founder or a senior operator. You're helping build this company. You're leading the charge and creating something, bringing something net new into the world. And the view that you have doing that is really important and very unique to you. And so we want to understand what these core beliefs are, because that is truly the only thing, your perspective, your taste, your credibility is the thing that AI will never be able to replace. And so what do core beliefs look like? These are some example core beliefs based off of me and my profile of being a founder of a content agency who helps other founders find their unique voice and create content. And so belief one is most founders should stop posting until they have something to disagree about, which is stating volume is the wrong metric, and it implies generic content is invisible. And so what my solution is build beliefs before building content. And I frame it in this way because it's meant to, A, show that I have an opinion. It's something that someone could potentially disagree with, which, hint, is a great thing because I can see the people that agree with me, and the people who disagree with me will leave comments, which pushes it out to more people. And so you always want to have an opinion. You want to have a core belief that doesn't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be mean to another group of people, but it's something that truly someone could pick a side on. Belief number two, a founder with 800 followers and a sharp POV will close more enterprise deals than one with 80,000 who play it safe. This core belief is stating followers are not the goal. Most LinkedIn growth is vanity. And so what my solution is, POV drives pipeline, not audience size. Also, little asterisks, it's that you don't need a lot of followers to actually make a difference. I think everyone here would much rather have 800 super loyal followers than 80,000 followers who never engage with any content. The third, cold outreach didn't die because of bad copy. It died because you were asking before you earned it. So this states that sequence is the problem, the order of operations. And it implies that trust must precede the ask, which is the solution. Content earns the right to reach out. Once you've built that trust, once you've built that credibility with an audience, is only when you're able to reach out. And so these are three core beliefs that I stand by. These are pillars that I create content off of consistently. And what's nice is there's a lot of different ways that you can talk about these core beliefs. They're not so specific. They're not so narrow that you are limited in only being able to say it once. And I can say these core beliefs time and time again to reinforce the message and get this POV and this perspective to net new audience. So how do you find your beliefs? Well, the easiest place to start, and we do this with all of our clients when we onboard them, is what do you know that most people in your space get wrong? I think this is a pretty typical way of kind of getting to it. Are there any strong opinions where you disagree with what most people agree in your industry, in your workplace? Is there a thing that you say, you find yourself saying consistently that people go, wow, I've never thought about it that way? Another one that I love is, what advice do you give every single client without exception? And this could be a friend. What's the advice you find yourself giving often? If you've said it 50 times across 50 clients, it's definitely a belief. It's something that you just believe in your core. Fun take on this is if you use a note-taking app or like an AI call recorder, go in there and you can usually query all of your calls and just be like, are there any things that I say a lot? Might be a good place to start. And then what would you argue with a peer about at a conference? And, argue, maybe don't misinterpret that the wrong way, but something where there's a healthy disagreement. If everyone agrees with your post, it's not a belief. That's really the takeaway. What you don't want is to write something where when someone in your industry reads it, they just kind of nod their head and you're like, yeah, it's kind of obvious. That's what makes a post seem like AI slop that has no personality, has no perspective. And so we need to be able to come up with what our core beliefs are. And then we can turn all of these into different ways to say it. And that's where our hook formula comes into play, which gets us to the content matrix. So now we know like 3 to 5 core beliefs, things that we truly believe in our core as an individual, as a business. There's definitely going to be some overlap there because you probably joined a company or started a company that you believe in. And so this is the systematic way to really never run out of ways to say your core beliefs and never run out of things to say. So you don't sit down at your desk each week or your laptop and say, what do I post about this week? So we like to use a content matrix. And there are 6 hook types that I usually default to. People will kind of cut these a few different ways. These are the ways that I find are the best. But a contrarian perspective, creating a curiosity gap, using specific numbers and results, using a story, a confession, and then a direct ask. And so if we take our core belief of cold outreach fails because trust comes before the ask, and we frame it from all of these different perspectives, you can see how we say the same message and we convey the same belief 6 different ways. So the contrarian perspective of that is stop sending cold emails. The way to create curiosity around this is there are 2 types of outreach. One books calls, most founders use the wrong one. Immediately after reading that, you go, well, what is that? What's the wrong one? Little fun fact there. People are more inclined to learn about what they're doing wrong versus how to do something right, because we have, as humans, we have shame and embarrassment, and we don't want to be doing the wrong thing. Much greater than us wanting to do the right thing or using the right way. Numbers do really well on LinkedIn and Twitter. So using a number result, I sent 400 cold DMs. Here's the one thing that actually booked the call, right? I am saying I'm credible. I did this thing 400 times, and now I'm sharing the secret with you. A story opener. A founder I worked with closed a $150,000 deal without a single cold message, right? So I'm talking about an experience that reinforces this cold outreach fails because trust comes before the ask. A confession. I wasted 18 months on cold outreach before I understood this. Saying, again, I've put in the time. I've done the work. I did this for 18 months. And now I want to share this one thing with you. And then the direct ask. So if you're a B2B founder burning time on cold email, read this. And so you have 6 unique ways to convey the same belief. And so if you keep adding to your belief system, you essentially have infinite number of post ideas. And I'll speak to this quickly because I'll talk to it at the end but as well as what gets really fascinating for anyone who's analytically driven in the audience, is it's really interesting to start then tracking, okay, belief 1, belief 2, belief 3, which one of those is performing best? And which hook type performs best with each belief? And so you create this really in-depth analytical grid of how to actually find out which beliefs are working, which, might I add, translates into product copy, ad copy, sales copy. You can use these core beliefs to help inform other things. And then also which hook types are performing best. And there's probably going to be different hook types based off of different beliefs. A great hook needs 3 parts. It needs a pattern interrupt. And so the first 2 to 4 words must disrupt the scroll. That's all you're fighting for. It's not a topic sentence. It needs to be something jolting. It needs to have specific tension, not just tension. It needs to have specific tension. So name the exact problem. If it's vague, it's going to be scrolled over. And if it's really, really hyper specific, you want someone to say, wait, that's me. And then an implicit promise, right? Why should the reader give you their time? So don't explain what you're going to say. Make them need the next line. Make it so they have to keep continuing to read. And the more that you keep building up that promise, the more you have to deliver on it. And I see a lot of people get that wrong, is they'll make a promise at the beginning of the post of what they're going to say in the hook, but then you have to deliver on that promise. And that's how you earn the engagement. So getting into the 6 hook types, and just some examples of it. Contrarian, most of you are probably familiar with this. Challenge and obvious belief. So an example of that would be stop optimizing your cold emails. It's not the email. Creating curiosity. So create an information gap. Make them realize that there is, X and Y, and they don't understand the difference between the two. So there are 2 kinds of LinkedIn posts, one that books calls, and most founders write about the other one. Number and result, pretty self-explanatory, but have a specific outcome with specificity. A story opener, so drop into a scene immediately, take you into that moment. For any creative writers or people who remember their high school English class, you want to drop into that scene. You want to be describing the atmosphere, the tension in rooms, the feelings between the parties. A confession, so admit to a personal failure or a truth. And then direct address, so call out the exact person. Speak to your ICP directly. If you are a B2B founder posting on LinkedIn and not booking calls, read this. And so here's just some examples of how that looks in action. I have a contrarian, a number and result, story opener, all based around cold outreach. Didn't die because of bad copy. It died because you were asking before you earned it. And you can see how these posts are explaining the same core belief in 3 different ways. All right, so now we know our core beliefs. We know what we stand for. We know what we want to talk about. We've built the content grid to be able to say, all right, how are we going to talk about these things? And how do I do it so it doesn't sound repetitive and I don't have to sit down and think about what to write every day? To now saying, all right, we're posting, we've posted for the first, couple weeks. We're starting to see some engagement. We have followers. How do I actually get that in the pipeline? For most people watching, this could be business owners trying to book meetings. It could be, if you have a newsletter, trying to get subscribers to your newsletter. If you have whatever it is, whatever the call to action is, we're just going to refer to that as pipeline. So something to understand here is that buyers don't move through a linear order. So in marketing for the last, 30 years, everyone's like, marketing moves through a funnel. What's your marketing funnel? And that just fundamentally is wrong now. With so much access to so many different platforms, with people doing more and more education, and with AI, it's no longer that, you get top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. What you need to do is bring people into your orbit. So they orbit in your sphere, they follow you, maybe they engage in a couple posts, maybe they go to your website, right? They're staying within your orbit until the timing is right. And so what we need to do is get them into our orbit, keep them in our orbit, and then track a signal to understand when they are closer to being ready to buy. So one way to pull people deeper into your orbit are lead magnets. And lead magnets are nothing new. They've been around for a whole long time, but they've definitely evolved with how effective they are, and they kind of the change and nuance to the platform. And so if you spent any time on LinkedIn, I'm sure you've seen someone post some screenshot of something and say, I've compiled a checklist or a course or, some resource, and comment guide, and I'll DM it to you. This is a lead magnet. So it's the bridge between follower and buyer. And without one or many, you're going to miss out on most people who are just passively scrolling. So 3 tiers of lead magnets. And I categorize these by friction and volume. And so low friction, high volume is a checklist or a framework. And that could be a 1-page document, a Notion page that solves one specific problem. Specificity is key here. These are pretty easy to create, to share. They have a higher download rate and best for building a list size. So this is probably what you'll most commonly see on LinkedIn. Um, One key component to all of these is this is not something where you should, cheap out on. Definitely spend a lot of time on producing the lead magnet because once they download it and open it, the experience and the quality that they see in that work, they will directly associate with you. And so if it looks like AI slop, if it looks like you put it together with a couple prompts, that person's perception of you will be just that. Wow, this person didn't put in a lot of effort. Next is a workshop or a short course. You have medium friction, medium volume. So a 60-minute recorded session or live event. It requires an email opt-in. And then after the fact, you can filter for people who are seriously evaluating your methodology. Hint, we're doing one right now. Lead magnet number 3, an audit or a strategy call. High friction, so this is the highest friction from the buyer, and you will get the lowest volume of people doing this, which is a 20-minute call where you can review their current content or a go-to-market setup or whatever is applicable to you, however you would qualify someone to be a good buyer. And this is only for prospects who are sales ready. Don't offer this too early. The best component of this is doing all 3. But if you're just starting out, I definitely would recommend just doing a checklist or a framework because again, lowest friction for the reader, you're going to get way more of higher volume, and you start to actually gather some emails that you can do some nurturing and email marketing to. So all of these are talking about the CTA pattern. So checklist and framework, comment, send, and I'll DM it to you. This opens up the top of funnel. For the workshop or short course, you're usually registering to something, signing up for it. And then for the audit strategy, you can also do the same DM audit. The reason people add friction and ask you to DM them rather than just sending the resource is additional comments trick the LinkedIn algorithm to boost it out to more people. Although I've heard that LinkedIn has figured out how to solve this. So you don't want to look too spammy all the time. But all of this are giving you indications on these individual buyers through LinkedIn that they are interested in more of your stuff, right? That's all we're doing here. They liked your content and now they go, okay, cool. I like more of Will's stuff. When you reach out to them, you want it to be tailored based off of the thing that they did. So it's not a cold message. You're not like cold pitching, hey, I'm Will, I do this, right? It's a follow-up to an action that they already took. And so if they comment with a question, you can DM them and be like, hey, great question. I'm happy to share more details about what you asked about. What it implies is that they have some unsatisfied curiosity from your post. And so when you reach out and say, hey, I can give you more information about that if you're interested, you're not cold pitching, you're building a genuine relationship and some kind of connection with this individual based off of an action they took. So it's not cheesy, it's not salesy. If they share your post, you can go, hey, thanks for sharing my post. I really appreciate it. Curious what made it land for you. I'd love to know more. You can ask them like, hey, I'd love to know more about if I can share more things about this. What else are you interested in? And so sharing is a great indication that they're giving you a public endorsement. They've already decided that they trust you. And so this DM is just an invitation and not a pitch being like, hey, let's talk more about this thing. Something I didn't mention is timing is very important in this. So you can see I have some recommendations of like time frames. Pretty much the sooner you can do it, the more relevant. People are so busy, they're doing a million things a day. And so if they just commented and you DM them right away, they're more likely to respond. That's all it is. And then if they view your profile, LinkedIn tells you who views your profile. A lot of people don't even look at this, which is insane to me. And it's totally fine being like, hey, you were checking my profile. If you're thinking about content or strategy, just let me know. I'm happy to chat, right? Keep it very chill, not too aggressive, not like, I know to, not speak too aggressive. If they're going to your profile more than once, like they're actively considering you, they aren't just, accidentally clicking your profile name. And this can be one of the strongest buying signals on LinkedIn. Also with DMs in general, I'll just say this now, like after you read it, I call it the elevator test. And so if you were in an elevator, a 4x4 grid, a 5x5 grid, someone who's, pretty close to you outside of your actually probably inside of your personal bubble, would you say this to them? Would you say this DM to them like, hey, like, you know, you're like, I saw that you raised some money. Congratulations. Like, no, you just be like, hey man, like you shared my post. That's awesome. Thank you. So the elevator gut check is always a good thing. If you read back your DM and be like, I would never say this out loud, don't send it. So we now have engagement signals. So the DM playbook only works if you know who to reach out to, and we need the content to generate that information. So we're building up an audience, we're building that attention to then be able to look at those engagement signals. And so this is why the intent signals is like half the battle and half the system, and they need to go hand in hand. All right, let's go into intent signals. A lot of people post content. Maybe you do lead magnets, maybe. But they're just like, if I post every day, I'm going to start getting some inbound. Maybe you'll get lucky, but like, don't rely on this strategy. What you should be doing is looking at these signals. So an intent signal is a behavioral data that tells you a prospect is actively considering a problem you solve. And the signal is not a specific post, it's the pattern. So the repeat behavior, escalating engagement, visits that cluster around a specific topic. This is the one difference between reactive selling and proactive pipeline. Some high intent signals that really matter, repeat profile views from the same person. We talked about that before. So monitor it from your LinkedIn profile. One or more single, definitely want to reach out. Comments that ask a specific question, not just like a great post piece of content, but like a real question that adds depth or makes it seem like they're truly trying to solve a problem. They share your post. That's always a great indication. Saves, means they're going to revisit it later. And they're still thinking about it. They want to continue thinking about this topic. That they engage with your content and a competitor's. So a lot of people ignore competitor or looking at their competitors, but it's like, I don't know, if you're evaluating me and 4 other content agencies and I see you popping up on all, like, they're definitely exploring their options, which, like, good for them. We all do. And then profile views after viewing competitors. So if they're doing side-by-side viewership, it's a very hot signal. DM them immediately. They're really active there. So the general rule of thumb is let's stack as many signals as possible. If there are 2+ signals from the same person the same week, you should reach out to them immediately. And a single signal might just be some noise, or again, like scrolling through LinkedIn, you probably have accidentally clicked someone's profile before. So you definitely want to look at an aggregation of signals versus just 1 or 2. All right, if you need help building any of this, or you want a tailored plan just for you, for everyone watching today, I'm giving a free 30-minute strategy session. These usually go for about $800. We'll go through your profile, we'll go through your content, go through your outreach strategy, and build an actual tailored plan just for you on how to build a LinkedIn content engine. Again, we've done this with a whole bunch of founders and operators in the space. And if you're unsure about what you're actually selling, if you're not a business owner, we can still get on, do a strategy session, and talk about how it can advance your career, how you can use it to maybe build an audience, to one day build a product. So scan the QR code. Would love to chat with you. Now let's get into Taplio, because I slept on Taplio. I was kind of like, I'm going to do it all myself for the longest time. And I adopted it, and it has completely changed the way that I operate and navigate through LinkedIn. It is absolutely fantastic. It can handle the entire process. And so what I love it for is the research and inspiration tab. The core belief matrix that we talked about is absolutely fantastic for staying rooted in the things that you know and you believe. But what's kind of missing from it is like the pulse on the community and like internet culture and the world a little bit. It's very much about how I view the world. And a key component also with content is like staying relevant. And so I've loved the research tab, which I'll get into. to help find viral posts. It also just kind of sparks my creativity and my ideas. It's really good for drafting, one of the better tools I've seen for drafting. I personally love writing so much that I usually still write most of my posts. And then on the back end, the analysis. So LinkedIn Analytics, while there's a lot of data there, can be kind of clunky. Taplio helps me solve that with, looking at performance data, seeing what of my pillars are working, my core beliefs, and helping me refine that content matrix over time. And so on the inspiration side or on the research side, what I like to use this for is actually find what's working before I write about something. If I can go through and scroll through the feed and see that, 3 creators in my niche are talking about something, a specific topic, or a new update, or they validated some type of hook for me to use, I'm going to use that as inspiration. Absolutely. And if you start paying attention to creators in your niche, everyone kind of does this. And so what's really cool is this viral post component. I like to talk about like go to market. And so I'll come in here and filter that out. And you can see people that I would probably never interact with in any other capacity. Like these aren't people I follow. I can see what people are talking about in this space. Go to market's a pretty specific one, and you can see that I get a nice range of days and the amount of engagement. You can definitely set filters. So like I'm looking at only last month. I want people who have a lot of followers, but not too many followers. I care less about comments, but I want to see people with at least 50 likes, right? To me, that's like they've gotten out of that first threshold. I can already tell I'm going to love this. So Steal 40 plus plugin and play go-to-market workflows built on Lucia. So I maybe am going to take something specific from this post, but really it's like, oh, people are sharing pre-built workflows. Like that's the idea. Great. I can do that. I build workflows all day. And another signal, right, in this hook, Steal, right? I'm giving you something of value. 40 plus specific numerical, that workflows we've built on Lucia, right? So there's proof that we've shown that this already is validated. Really great hook there. Probably why I got so much engagement. And so this is a great idea. Mark, 2 quick notes from my go-to-market network. This is interesting. This is him kind of sharing 2 personal takes on it. But he's also promoting a webinar. So maybe it's not something I can directly get inspired by. But what I'll do is at the beginning of each week, or, when I should be doing other things, I'll come here and just browse and get some inspiration. If there's something I like, I'll write it down. But it's a really great way to just keep ideas fresh and keep a pulse on what's actually happening in your community. I wonder, just like sales. We'll go a little bit more broad to see if we can find some interesting stuff. You can play around with the filters. You can save the posts here, which is great. And so, yeah, really just a great way to keep a pulse on, what's working. And, I love this post. I saw this live the other day. We're going all in on Claude Code. Claude Code is obviously a very trending topic right now. This is another agency owner, and he's sharing, everything he's built within Claude Code for his agency. It's pretty smart. All right. So then on the data side and analytics, so really cool, high level, things are growing. That's great. But what gets really interesting is going into post performance. And I love being able to see high level, like what it is that's working from an impression standpoint, from a reaction standpoint as well. This is a more valuable metric in my opinion. But they all have their place. And what a lot of people forget to do is if I have a post that did really well, let's see, all-time post performance, if I have a post like this, this is a graphic that I shared. and I posted it, you know, or that's almost 2 years ago at this point. Jesus Christ. Um, but if I posted this, right, I should be reposting this because I have a completely new audience than what I did at that time. And so people will post something, it performs well, and they kind of forget about it. I'd probably realistically go to the 90-day side of things, and be like, all right, this is something, these are all something that I posted previously. They did well. I'm going to repost that with my new audience, maybe change the hook a little, maybe add something that's a little bit more contextual to now, and being able to get another shot because it will probably do well again. And so from here, I can see at a glance of what's working well. And I can come over here and just go create a variation of it. I'm going to go and create a conservative version. And so it actually generates a new idea for me just from looking at it. And so it's a great way to never forget to kind of repost content that's already performed well. All right, I'm running a little bit over time, but I think I will see if there are any questions from the audience. Would love to take anyone's real questions, thoughts. If there's anything I can answer for you specifically, would love to.
Okay, nice. Thanks so much, Will, for the walkthrough. Really enjoyed. Personally, I took down a couple of notes that I found super interesting. Like, I think the core beliefs framework is super relevant. I know a lot of people are really curious about how to navigate like a world with a lot of AI. So I think that was a really helpful framework.
Yeah.
And yeah, the timing of things and signals, I think super cool and spot on. Before diving into questions, just one thing, maybe two things. So first, we did get some comments about the visibility of the slides. So for anyone who had any issue reading through the slides, don't worry, we're going to send them over to you as well so that you can see all of the nice details that Will had added into the slides. He really went in depth, so I think it's going to be super helpful. And then the second thing, actually, Will, is that I think you shared a QR code with the resources earlier, but it was redirecting to the strategy session. So maybe a couple of people just wanted to get that resource out, and we will send that as well in the email. So,
Yes.
yeah, so this entire resource pack, we'll send that over to everyone by email. So no stress, guys. It's going to be a great resource for you to use. So yeah, maybe diving into some questions. So we did have a question first on maybe we go into more tactical things. So one question was around what kind of rhythm would you recommend specifically to founders using LinkedIn? Like, what would you say is a good beginner way to get into it? And what does the ramp up look like when they've gotten a good rhythm?
Yeah. My question would probably be, how much are you doing now? Because if you're doing nothing, something is better than nothing. And so whatever you're able to do, if you can only post once a week, only post once a week, right? Like just getting in the habit, like any habit forming, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So, and then there's like two sides of things. If content is just a component of your business, and you just want to have some visibility, show that you have proof of life, I would target 3 posts a week on LinkedIn. It seems pretty reasonable. You can batch create it over the weekend, whenever works for you. But if you're doing nothing, post something. And if you're posting once, try to get to 3. You should have infinite ideas by using Taplio and the content matrix.
Okay, nice. Another thing that we got was a question around, I mean, a lot of people are seeing the LinkedIn algorithm evolve a lot. So, and I think you kind of touched on it, that basically engagement and reach are really affected right now. First thing, true or false? Basically, like, do you think that including a URL in a LinkedIn post is going to be a signal for LinkedIn to not serve that content so well?
It's hard for me to comment on algorithmic preferences. I do know, what we do know is that LinkedIn and any social platform want their number one metric that they work towards is keeping people on their platform. So I think it is safe to say that linking out to another platform or linking out to another website maybe has an impact on it. But I think overall, right, we're in this game for a long time. If we're producing content, if we're creating content, you will drive yourself insane trying to trick and gamify the algorithm because it's always going to be changing and no one really knows what's happening behind the hood. Um, that's why consistency is so important. You can get signals and clues, what I was showing you on the Taplio dashboard of like what's working for other people. But just stay true to your message, stay posting. And anyone who's promising you like instant virality, I guarantee they don't know anything about the algorithm that other people don't know, right? Like there's no hack that works for everyone. And so it's so important just to stay consistent, and, posting what you want to post. What I do say about the algorithms is they always get better at finding the audience that cares about what you're talking about. Every platform has gone through this shift where just like if you're talking to a really specific audience and you're truly providing value and you're just posting good content, it will find the right audience.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think that at the end of it, right, it's really, at the heart of it, it's the content that needs to be really strong and then it will find its audience.
Yeah.
And actually, the timing of this question is also really good because we had just started releasing a newsletter called the LinkedIn Benchmark. So this is also available, I think, in the comment section of the YouTube live. But
Cool.
we basically are able to track every month the evolution of impressions for the data-driven people, engagements, and all of these things so that you can kind of see how the platform is evolving and how your content delivery is performing, so that you can also see like which formats are really working well at the time of your post. So if you guys are curious
Awesome.
to see a bit more of that like myth-busting kind of content, we provide that with the LinkedIn Benchmark in our Taplio newsletter.
Sweet.
The next thing I wanted to ask actually was basically the question is around how you're managing your pipeline, inbound versus outbound, like which one is working the best for you, more broadly speaking, like strategy wise.
Yeah.
How are you spending your energy doing both?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So for me, I am, we're a content agency. I like producing content. So we actually primarily only rely on inbound. But I say inbound because it's not necessarily just me posting on LinkedIn and people are just automatically booking demos. I do a lot of webinars, so this is content. I like producing and educating, information for people. I like packaging information for people, so resources, lead magnets, right? All this is just content production in my mind. And so people move through that funnel organically. Maybe they see my LinkedIn content, they download a resource, and then eventually they book a call when it's relevant to them. I do track intent signals, which I went through today, but then only doing very casual outbound from like my personal LinkedIn. It's not automated. I'm still just like reaching out to people. One caveat I'll add to this is like an agency versus a SaaS platform doesn't need as high a volume of leads generated. And so I've been able to grow organically just through and at a slower rate as an agency through inbound. But those intent signals show you so much great information about your buyer that layering outbound on top of it, when I do start doing that, will be super effective.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense and also is a very sustainable effort. Like it does help a lot with the consistency and staying true to the philosophy of the agency that you want. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of comments. Kind of a polarizing topic is LinkedIn newsletters. What's your take on that? Are you investing on building your LinkedIn newsletter?
Yeah, I love LinkedIn newsletters. So first of all, I'm a just big fan of LinkedIn in general, and I think when you're using a social platform when you're using a platform that has been around for a while and is really investing a lot in creators, we've seen this over the last couple of years. They launched the newsletter, they launched the articles, they launched the live sessions, right? They're clearly releasing these features to try to attract more of a creator economy. So my general rule of thumb is like, use the features that they're providing for you because they want users to be using it. And if I can be, part of the first cohort of people using it, there's so much advantage there. Something to make it tangible. I have a newsletter as well on Beehive. We have, I think, about 3,000 subscribers now, mostly like founders, operators in the AI and software space. I just started posting the same exact content to my LinkedIn newsletter. And because LinkedIn pushes that out to a wider network of people and tries to attract people in, we have about 3 times the amount of subscribers on LinkedIn now than we do on Beehive. And so it's been a really great kind of top of funnel way. And again, if I'm thinking in the lens of a buyer or someone who's engaging with my LinkedIn content, it's a very natural progression once you've read a few of my LinkedIn posts to go to my LinkedIn newsletter and scroll a couple of the articles there as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think this is a very cool way to do repurposing content very efficiently. And also to your point, right? Like I one of the takeaways I had earlier as well was that it's no longer a marketing funnel because everyone is everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just at time. First, thank you guys so much for staying on and really engaging with us on this webinar. We had a lot of really interested people who really wanted to dig into everything. So just wanted to say thank you for that. And then any last things you want to share with the audience, Will, maybe to close?
No, I was just going to say, please follow me on LinkedIn, or actually, you don't even have to follow me. But if you have questions, message me because I love answering people's actual individual questions. I know everyone has, very different things that they're trying to accomplish or different, situations. And so if you have any questions about content whatsoever, hit me up on there. Would love to answer. Please take advantage of this free session. I would love to help people one-on-one, really help them figure out their LinkedIn strategy. This has been super fun. Thank you guys for having me as well. I love talking about LinkedIn and how you can use it to grow your business. And so hopefully we'll get to do another one soon.
Nice. And last shout from me, if you guys want to try a couple of the things we'll walk you through in the Taplio segment, you can get a 7-day free trial on Taplio directly. So you can test out the engagement features, the viral post tab that Will showed. And yeah, get started on your LinkedIn journey. But thank you again so much for joining us and hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you guys.
Okay, I think